So what you're reading about in beginning cataloging, descriptive cataloging, subject analysis, is difficult to understand when you haven't seen anybody do it. That's one of the reasons I had you have assignments last week for the descriptive cataloging. And this week with subject analysis, I want you to continue on with that, adding subject headings and Dewey numbers to your descriptive cataloging. And since I know it's difficult to understand when you're just reading it from a book, I thought that it would be helpful if I showed you an example of how to do what I'm asking you to do in the subject analysis assignment. So this is the assignment. It's on your module homepage. It is called Subject Analysis and Dewey Assignment. And, when you open this page up, you have links on it to the various tools that you will need. The first link is the Library of Congress Subject Authorities Database. The next one is Dewey Info, and the third is the Cataloging Calculator. One thing I need to let you know about, Dewey Info was taken offline so that it could be migrated, and it hasn't come back online as of today, which is April 5th. So if you are doing the assignment and you click on this link and it doesn't go to anything, then you won't be able to add that part of the assignment, unfortunately. I don't know how else to help you get into Dewey because the regular Dewey database is a proprietary database which we don't have access to. So we'll just make the best of it. But you will want to go ahead and click on, if you hold down your control key and then click on Library of Congress Authorities Database, it will open up that website. So if you do that for all three of the tools, then you'll have them up on your screen, and I've already done that. They're up on my tabs here. So, but I also wanted to show you at the live guide for this course, under Find Subject Analysis Resources, I have listed those resources as well as other resources for supporting work with subject analysis. So under Subject Access Point resources, we've got the link to the Library of Congress authorities and other links to resources that will help give you more information about subject heading analysis. Under classification resources are a lot of resources for Dewey. Dewey Info is here, but also there is a link to the classification summaries, some other links that might be helpful for those of you who are already at work, being a school library media specialist. There's Dewey Decimal for Kids. There's a Dewey Decimal Wrap if you think that might be something fun for your students to see. So just check out some of these other Dewey resources that might be helpful for both the work you do in this course as well as what you do for your job. And then there's information on subject access point readings and classification readings. Some libraries are getting rid of Dewey and they are organizing their collections in other ways, and it's an interesting thing to consider. Bookstores have their own way of organizing resources, and so I would really recommend that you read. I'm not going to require you to, but I really do recommend that you read. Pick a couple of these classification readings just to expose yourselves to some different options for how to organize library collections. So let's get started on that assignment. Well, not on the assignment. Let's get started on showing you how to catalog. I'm going to work on a book called How to Spy on a Shark. This is the title page on the left of the screen, and I'm going to do the work in the document to the right. So I'm going to start out with, when I look at the title page, I see that Lori Haskins Horan is listed. She's probably the author. We have an illustrator also listed. And then at the bottom, I can deduce that this is the publisher's information. So since we have an author, I know that we're going to have an author main entry. So I'm going to type her name in here. Now, I know that this main entry has to be an authorized point, so I'm going to go to the Library of Congress Authorities database and search for her name. So I just need to click on that link, search authorities, and then under search type, I will select name authority headings. And I'm just going to type in her last name and then her first name. This is not case sensitive, so you don't need to capitalize anything or put commas. It'll just search it like that. But you do have to put last name first and then first name. And it takes me into the index of these names. I can see that Haran Lori Haskins is listed first. I believe that is my author, but I want to go into the record and take a look at what this record has to say about her. Let me show you what I clicked on. So if I look over in the left column, I can see that there's some buttons in here. One says authorized and references. The next one down says references. So what this is telling me for the second name is that this form of the name is not the authorized form, but if I click on this references button, it will take me to the record that will give me the authorized form. And if I look down at Hurahan F, there is no button. So this particular author's name has not yet been authorized in this form. Now, this particular author could have an authority heading with perhaps spelling out the first name, and the person who cataloged and used this form of the name wasn't aware of that, so didn't use the correct form. So that's why there's one book with this form on it, but there is no authorized heading for that form. So I'm going to click on this button that is to the left of the person that I think is my author. And it takes me to this list. I can either click on the heading that says authority record, or it also says see also Tyler Amy J. This gives me a heads up that this particular author probably wrote under two different names. And authors do that depending. They could write under using one name to write a certain genre and another name to write a different genre. So I'm going to click on the authority record, and then I'm going to click on the heading in the 1XX field. Whoops, let me go back. So over here it says heading 1XX, and it's the heading that's in the 100, 110, 111 field. That's going to be the authorized heading. So if I just click on her name, I will get into the record. Now this is the MARC record for an authority. This is a MARC authority record. And I look in the 1XX field, in this case for a personal name, it's got a 100 tag. And we'll learn more about this MARC record in our next module. This is what it looks like. And I see that this form of the name is the authorized heading. And if I look down in the 670 fields, well, actually in the 372, it says that this is a children's literature author, which is a good thing because my book that I'm cataloging is a children's book. And then it gives me a list in the 670s of various titles that this author has written. And you'll notice over here it says that Amy J. Tyler and Lori Haskins are the same person. So that's just a heads up that, or letting me know that somebody has done the research and found out that these two people are the same person, and they probably, like I said, write other books under the Amy J. Tyler name. So I know that this is my authorized heading, so I'm going to go back to my record that I'm creating, and I have it in the correct form, Haran Lori Haskins. Let's bring that up again. Haran Lori Haskins, and that is the correct form. Actually, let me just do this, and there we go. So I can move on to getting the descriptive portion of the record down. So since that is my main heading, I'm going to indent the record when I type in the title. And the title is How to Spy on a Shark. And you'll notice that this is in sentence case, so the first letter of the title is capitalized, and no other words are capitalized because I don't have any proper nouns in the title. So How to Spy on a Shark is a title. And then the punctuation that I use to separate the title from the statement of responsibility is a space / space. And then I type in the information about the responsible parties for this work. And I know that Lori Haskins Haran is the author. So I'm going to type her name exactly as it is on the title page. Laurie Haskins Haran. Now in this case, how the name is on the title page matches the authorized heading, but it's not that way in every case. This just happens to be a match. So don't be surprised if a title or if a name on a title page is a little bit different than the authorized heading. It's still, as long as you've verified that that's the author for the authority record that you're looking at, then it's the correct form of the name. I have an illustrator, so I'm going to separate the author's name with a space, semicolon, space, and then type in exactly what it says on the title page for the illustrator. And that is illustrated by Francisca Marquez. And you'll notice that I did not capitalize illustrated, because even though it's capitalized on the title page, because it doesn't need to be capitalized there. I have a period at the end of that because that's the end of that field. And then I'm going to do a space, dash, dash, space, as I go into the next area, which is the publication information. And I'm actually going to change this to a different font because I want it to have serifs on it so you can differentiate. And I'm going to make that just a little larger so you can see that. Hopefully, well, we'll make it that big. All right. So the publication information, I see that Albert Whitman and Company is in Chicago, Illinois, so I'm going to type in Chicago. And I'm going to make this RDA compatible. AACR2 would have me abbreviate Illinois, but I'm going to make it RDA compatible and spell it out since that's how it is on the title page. The place of publication is separated from the publisher by a space, colon, space, and then I type in the publisher's name, Albert Whitman. I'm going to leave off and Company because I don't need to include that. Albert Whitman is sufficient enough information to for people to identify the publisher. It wouldn't necessarily be wrong if I left it on, but it's not really necessary. So I'm going to separate then Albert Whitman from the date of publication by a comma. Now in this case, we don't put a space before the comma. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's just how it is. It's one of those quirky things that you kind of have to just remember. And then a space after the comma. Now I don't have a date on the title page, a date of publication on the title page, and I don't actually have the book. I've just copied different parts of the book into this Word document. So I'm going to scroll down to the publication information. The information that is often on the verso of the title page happened to come on the last page of the book. So be aware of that information about the publisher, the publication date, the ISBN information may not be on the back of the title page, but it may come in the back of the book. So sometimes you have to do a little searching for that information. It's very tiny. I can't make it bigger because this is just an image, but hopefully you can see that I have, it says text copyrighted and the date, illustrations copyright and the date, and then published in 2015 by Albert Whitman. So I want to prefer a publishing date instead of copyright date. They happen to be the same here, but in case they weren't, I would prefer that published date. So I'm going to put in here that it's published in 2015. Okay, now I'm done with the publishing information, and I'm going to put in the descriptive information. And I do that on another line, tab over, and I know that this little book is 15 pages long, so I'm going to type in 15 pages. Again, I'm spelling out pages because I want it to be RDA compatible. Space, colon, space for information about the type of information in the text. In this case, it's color illustrations. This is a children's book, and there are colored pictures on every page, so color illustrations. And then a space, semicolon, space. This happens to be a book that is longer than it is tall. And in that case, in most cases, when you have a book, for instance, like the beginning cataloging book, where the height of the book is higher, taller than the width of the book, we just record the height. But the book that I'm cataloging, How to Spy on a Shark, is actually like this format. So the height of the book is not as long as the width of the book. So I'm going to record both dimensions, both the height and the width. And the width dimension will come first. The width dimension comes first. It's 23 by 28 centimeters. Next, I will record, there's no index or bibliography, so I don't need to put any kind of note there. Often for children's books, there are summaries, and I could choose to type in a summary here, but we haven't discussed that. So let me see. If I look on this page, I can see that this is talking about mako sharks and tagging the sharks, and then dropping a robot in the sea so that they can follow the shark. And it's a story. It's a fiction story about how you can spy on a shark by tagging it with a radio sensor and then putting a robot in the water so it could follow the shark and it could see where it went, and had a camera could photograph some things, and so that's what the book is about. So I could, if I wanted to, do a little summary. I'll just type one up. So you do something like that. You wouldn't give the ending of a story, obviously, but you would just type a brief summary that helps the reader, the searcher, be able to determine whether it is they want to get this book or not. So there's my summary. And then I'm going to put the ISBN in. And if I scroll back down to that page, final page. The ISBN is on here. It's an 13-digit ISBN, and so it starts with 978 08075 3402-1. Here's my ISBN. These all should be single-spaced. Oh, I need to get rid of the spacing after the paragraph, because every time I do a return it thinks I'm doing a new paragraph, so that's why it adds that spacing. And now to the subject analysis part of it. This is where I need to put in subject headings. Well, how do I know what subject headings to use? Well, when we look on that page that was talking about tagging, spying on sharks, why we would do that, we have some key words here. One is mako shark, marine biologists, and underwater robot. So these are some key terms that were used they were used in the text. So they will be terms that I will use to find subject headings. So how do we do that? Well, in this case, we are again going to go to the Library of Congress Authorities page, and I'm going to do a new search, and I'm going to search for mako shark. I'll just type that in, and this is how you do subject headings. You have the term that is used in the text, or a term that you know that is describing what the text is about, and you just type it in, and we'll see what we come up with. So we can see I typed in mako shark, and we see that there's two entries here, mako sharks, which is LC annotated children's catalog subject heading, and then mako sharks over on the right hand side, Library of Congress subject headings. For a children's library, it's a good idea to use the ELSI Annotated Children's Catalog subject heading. So we know that Mako Sharks is one of those subject headings, so that's what we can use for our subject heading for this work, our first step subject heading. So we're going to put the Arabic numeral 1 and then Mako Sharks. Now, if we were using Library of Congress subject heading, in this case it's the exact same thing, but sometimes it's not. If we did choose to use Library of Congress subject headings, we would just simply do space, dash dash space, and then add juvenile fiction. Since this is oh, and look, it merged, because I haven't set this up, it merged my double spaces into an M dash. So please fix your Word program if it's doing that, because it should be 2 dashes. So, but I am using children's annotated subject headings, and that's what I want you to use. So I'm not going to add that juvenile fiction subdivision, because I know that this is a children's subject heading. And then I put a period at the end, and then I'm going to do a second subject heading. Let's see if marine biologist is one. And again, I'm just sort of guessing. Oh, and it is. Wow. Marine biologists, ELSI Annotated Children's Catalog. And we'll just go back here, type that in. Period. And 3, I want to do this underwater robot. So this is interesting. See, I didn't do this before. I should have probably seen what I was getting into. Underwater robotic vehicles, which is what this book has in it. It's for the Library of Congress subject heading. It has a reference. Well, this isn't a children's subject heading, but I will go ahead and take a look at the reference because it might get me to what I'm looking for. And it gives me, again, I could click into the authority record, but then I see underneath it says C, remote submersibles. So underwater robotic vehicles is what we call a C reference to remote submersibles. So I just need to click on remote submersibles, and that gives me to the list of subject headings. And I wonder if I go on the previous page, if it will be a children's remote submersibles. New. So it's not a children's annotated subject heading. So in this case, what I'd like you to use is, you go ahead, if you can't find the children's subject heading, I would like you to use the Library of Congress subject heading and add the juvenile literature or juvenile fiction to it, depending. You would use juvenile fiction for a fiction work, or juvenile literature for poetry or nonfiction. Juvenile literature for poetry and nonfiction. So that was remote submersibles. All right, and juvenile. And I'm going to put fiction because this is fiction. And actually, this should not indent here. Unfortunately, it is automatically doing this, and I want it to not undo automatic. There we go. Because it's a paragraph. So we indent the first, and we word wrap to the second. So finally, what I know is that, oh, not finally, if Dewey, don't do that. Okay. So if, no, what I want to do is add added entries for the illustrator and the title, because I know I have Haran as the main heading. I also want an added entry for the title. Remember, this goes back to card catalog days, so I would be essentially telling the company that I got cards from, I want a card for the title entry, and I want a card for the illustrator's name. So I'm going to do a Roman numeral 1 for Marquez, Francisca, and I will search for her name. Go back to new search, and this time I'm going to select name. And I don't need to type out the full name. It will pop me in there where it needs to. Oh, and I've got a couple of options. There's this one, and then there is a second one who was born in 1974. I don't know which one my Francisca is. And so I will need to go into the record to take a look. This one has a title that looks like it's in Spanish, so I'm not sure that's her. If I just click on, oh, unfortunately I can't go to next. So I'm going to go back to the headings list, and then I can get to my second one who was born in 1974. And I can see that she's an illustrator of books. So right, this is my illustrator, and so I'm going to just add that. You'll notice in the authorized heading, the date, her birth date, is in a subfield D. So I'm going to go back to my record here, and I'm going to do a comma. There's no middle name. It was just Marquez, comma, Francesca. And then I'm going to use a number sign for the subfield delimiter, a D, and then 1974 with an open hyphen. And do a space, 2 spaces and a period. And then Roman numeral 2 for title. The final element, I wish it would stop doing this. Good. The final element will be my Dewey Decimal number, actually 2 final elements. So let me go back here, and if I go to Dewey Web Services from, I'll show you where it was, from the Find Subject Analysis Resources in my LiveGuide, I clicked on Dewey Decimal Classification Summaries. I was hoping that I could get into a list of the classification schedule. Dewey Summaries, maybe that will be here. Maybe so, yay! Yes, it is. Okay, so here we have, this is Dewey Decimal, the 23rd edition. These are the main headings. You can see there are 10 categories. It starts with 000 to 900. This is about sharks, so I think we want to be in science. This would be the 500s. That's the main classes. If we go to the second summary, this goes, the first was the, they're calling this the hundreds division, so this would be the second numeral, so we can look at science, 500, mathematics, astronomy, let's see, we've got life sciences, biology, animals, here we go, 590 is animals. Let's see if we can get down any further. And then the thousands section, let's see, 590, I'm not sure we can, oh, in the 100, okay, we've got this by 5, so this is the 500s in the thousands section. We knew it was 590 something animals, marine and seashore invertebrates. All right, I think that's where our, oh, nope, here we go. Cold-blooded vertebrates, fishes, our sharks are fishes. So they would go there, and I don't think we can get any further. 597. So come into these summaries. I'll put the link for these summaries on the assignment page, so that you can look at the summaries and at least get to the 3 digits. So we know that this would be in 597. Oop, lost my formatting. 597. All right, that doesn't look like it's the same size. Times new Roman, oh, right, because I did it at 14, right. So 597, that would be our Dewey Decimal number for this work. Finally, I want you to add a cutter for the author, and so we will go to the cataloging calculator, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to select LC Cutter. Now, you can open this up in any browser, but it kind of isn't really comfortable in Chrome. I haven't tried it in Firefox. It works best in Windows Explorer. So I'm going to put in this box the author's last name, and it is Huron. And you'll notice at the top it starts spitting out a number. So I want the cutter to go, it can go as long as you want, but remember, the longer that it goes, the more difficult it is for people to remember. So I'm just going to do it 3 digits, so it's going to be H68. And I will just put this at the end of my Dewey number, H68, and that is my full Dewey number. That's the spine label number plus the date. In fact, I'll do that you would have on your for your call number. And that is basically how you catalog a book. Pretty simple. Of course, it's simpler for me because I've been doing this for a long time, but hopefully that's helped to demystify some of the work that you've been doing. I know these other tools are new to you. If you have any questions or concerns, please post your questions on the question and answer discussion page. If you don't want to be embarrassed by posting it there, send me an email and I will post it anonymously to the question and answer it. So please, as you're working on this, any questions come up whatsoever, shoot me an email or post it on the question and answer. And I'll get to that as soon as I can. I'm not checking it every day, all the time, every day. But I do try to check it at least once every day. So hope you have fun with this, and we'll see you next week.